Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Kim and this is Vlogmas Day 15. So for Vlogmas, I will be reading a short story from the Hingston and Olsen calendar and reviewing it for you, as well as unwrapping a mini skein from a calendar that Polka Creek produced. So thank you again for joining me, and let's get to finding out what we're going to be reading and dealing with today. So for day 15 of this beautifully designed advent calendar, the short story is called My Friend Goo by Deb Olin Unferth, and a new to me author again, which is what I really enjoy about this calendar. So Deb Olin Unferth is the author of 6 books, and she was a finalist for the National Book Critics Circle Award. She teaches at the University of Texas at Austin, so an American writer, and this was written in 2022. So this should be a very interesting read. As for the yarn skein today, this is another beautifully wrapped, hand-dyed DK weight yarn. It's a combination of superwash and nylon, so it has a little bit of stretch to it, and it is just the most lovely shade of Kelly green, almost a Grinch shape, and this is called Sour Apple, so very aptly named. And this is super soft, and it is such a joy to knit with. It has such a nice yarn definition. All right, so I am going to get reading and knitting, and I will update you when I have some thoughts. So I absolutely adored this short story. This is by far the best short story out of the Advent calendar so far. And I loved the writing and the whole premise and everything about the short story so much that I've already tried to source out her books to read her. So it is very much a retrospective, reflective story. Um, and it's told in the first person, and it's told in sections, and it's set in Texas. Now, every reader has certain triggers, and for me personally, I have triggers about animals and animal cruelty, as well as the beginning of the pandemic. And while I've found reading about the pandemic to be somewhat comforting, I know not everybody has, that I just have certain triggers around sort of March through the summer of 2020 for very personal reasons. So all of those things sort of, this is about an animal, and this is set in March of 2020 and over the next couple of months. So this book, or sorry, this short story had everything going against it for me, but I absolutely adored it. So the narrator, who is a female whose name we never find out, it's the beginning of the pandemic, so March 2020, and she becomes obsessed with walking, which a lot of people can relate to. Now, there is a brief mention of a husband who goes unnamed, and she's married to him, but he's going through a religious conversion, and they're becoming estranged, and there's a lot of fighting going on. And the narrator certainly addresses the panic that I think that we all felt at the beginning of the pandemic. So she's taking these solitary walks and feeling very lonely and estranged. And she starts visiting a pier every day where different things happen. And a goose suddenly appears. And I know that there are geese all over the world, and that this goose in particular was called an Egyptian goose, but I find it to be a very Canadian symbol for obvious reasons. The symbolism that she brings up, she looks around at some of the animals conversing together and calls them old drinking buddies. And I adored that. I think it's wonderfully done. Now, the goose is a bit of a monster in that he starts attacking everybody around him and causing problems. And she makes very modern references. So she names him Goo, which is a Sonic Youth song. And she also references My Private Idaho, as well as Doctor Who. So that makes me think that she's probably around my age, because those are all references that I immediately understood. Now, the goose, Goo, and the narrator, they start going for walks together and spending time and forming a relationship. And Goo is definitely someone that the narrator looks forward to spending time with every day. And the writer really brings Goo to life in such an incredible way. I felt so much for the narrator and for this goose. There is such a peacefulness to their friendship. Now, a great freeze of Texas happens, and all of a sudden, the narrator is estranged from Goo and worried about him. And she starts revealing the fact that her brother is deceased and starts reflecting back on that. And it's so interesting because the writer flips in sections between what's going on with her and then flashes back to her brother's demise. And it's brilliantly done. It's very reflective. It's very sad. It made me very emotional. And she also starts dreaming of her brother. Um, and is worried about Goo's distress in the cold. Now, I won't give away the ending, but I love this from beginning to end. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait to read more by Deb Olin Unfers. And I think when writers write about emotions that you can't articulate, that is such a wow factor, and that this writer absolutely did that for me. So, what a fantastic morning. And I will show you some of my updated knitting for the blanket. I am knitting Stephen West's blanket from Hyper Knitting 4. And it is a very easy knit. It's very relaxing. And I am so enjoying all of the warm, wonderful colors that Polka Dot Creek has hand dyed. So, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you spending your time with me. If you're so inclined, please like and click on the bell to subscribe so you won't miss any videos. And tell me how you're doing in the comment section below. I've also set up a Patreon account if you want to put a tip in the tip jar. And I really hope that you join me for Vlogmas Day 16. We're more than halfway through. So I will leave you with some of my favorite things from the lake. See you soon. Bye.